So in this video, we're going to be showing you how to fit our SW Motorsport's bucket seat mounting kits. Depending on the options, you'll have your seat base, sliders and side mounts. It'll come with all of the hardware to be able to fit it, apart from the bolts that bolt the base into the car. You should already have those. And yeah, I'm going to show you how to do it. So step one, remove your old seats. It's usually 4 bolts, 1 in each corner, and then there'll be an electrical connector underneath for your airbags and for your seatbelt clasp. So this is the base for an Audi TT. It's the same for quite a few of the VW Audi Group models. But this process is pretty much the same across all different makes and models of car. You've got your mounting holes for the base to mount into the car, and then you've got adjustment holes for either the sliders and side mounts or for the side mounts to mount into the car. This has loads. There's a few bases that don't have as many, but the process is always the same. So the base goes in, usually with the SW Motorsports logo at the front, and you just loosely put 2 of the bolts in. And then what we're going to do is we jump into the car, make sure the steering wheel is centered, and then we're going to make a mark on the base in line with the center of the steering wheel. Usually just a little bit further back so it's not noticeable. This will serve as our center point when we're building the base up out of the car. We can just put the whole thing in as one unit, saves a lot of trouble. So if you're just fitting the base and side mounts, once you've made your center mark, you'll measure the width of your seat, you'll place your side mounts on, and then you will bolt them to the base. This is where you'll then take it to the car, figure out how further forward or further back you want to be, move the side mounts to there, and away you go. Today, however, we're going to be fitting the slider and side mount kit. It's a little bit trickier, but we'll show you how to do it. So this seat is 420mm wide at the front, 415mm wide at the back. So if we were just fitting it with side mounts, we'd make sure that the center of the side mounts was where the mark was that we've made, bolt them up, put the seat in, put the whole base with the seat into the car at once. So our seat width dimension is 420. So we want to make sure that our sliders are about 20–30mm outside dimension, less than that. Just gives us a little bit of room to make sure the seat will fit within the side mounts. And then we want to make sure that whatever dimension the sliders are apart, that they're central to the mark that we've made, which is the centre of the steering wheel. So sliders are 400 apart here, and the centre is 200. Yeah, perfect. So they're central with the mark that we've made. In this position, we then find the closest hole for the width, slot a bolt through. Corresponding row, you then find the closest hole for there, slot a bolt through, and you should be able to build up from here. So once the rear bolt is in, just get a washer and a nut loosely on the bottom just to hold it in position. Get it straight. Pull the slider and then pull it back to reveal the hole that it lines up with at the other end. Do the same. No washer on the slider side, a washer and a nut on the underside. Now the sliders are mounted, just going to nip the bolts up until they're almost tight. So starting at one side, off the side mount onto the slider, and then make sure that the side mount distance from the inside of the face to your centre mark is half the width of your seat. So we're aiming for 210, which is just there. Perfect, 210. And that lines up with both those holes at the front and that slot in the back, so we'll be using the furthest front hole and then this slot in the back here as well. This is the part that requires you to have tiny fingers, which I do not. So I'm going with those two there, that slot there. The bolt goes up from the underside, and then washer, nut on the top. Notice we're not tightening anything up completely at this point, just so that we've got a bit of final adjustment there. Position the other side mount onto the other side and just mirror the mounting position that you've used on the other side. Then, now that the back bolts are in, I'm going to move the slider to the front of its adjustment so you can get the front bolts in. Yeah. So this is the point where everything's mounted, everything's roughly in the right position. I'm going to tighten up the bolts between the base and the slider, just making sure that the slider is completely straight. And then we're going to take a measure between our centre point and the inside face of the side mount, make sure that's correct, and then we're going to tighten these bolts up. After then, we then start tightening the other side, ensure that our distance between is correct, and then we can tighten this side up. Now I've tightened one side, make sure the measurement's correct. I'm going to measure up the other side, make sure it's correct, tighten everything up. Okay, so this is the part where you will definitely graze a knuckle. In the handle, there's two holes, there's two pins on each slider. So what we need to do is we need to slide it onto two pins on one side, and then pull the handle in. Rest it against my body instead. Pull the handle in, spring it out into the other side. There we go. And now the base, slide forwards and backwards. What we want to do now is make sure it's in the same place on both sides again. Just going to line it up with the back of the slider itself. Double, triple check your measurement. Perfect. And now we offer the seating. Okay, so we don't usually provide bolts for mounting the actual seat into the side mounts. This is because the bolts that are usually used, especially in a lovely homologated FIA seat like this motor drive, the bolts are homologated with the seat. So you've got to use usually the bolts that come with the seat. So now the seat, slider and base unit's all built up, all we need to do is place the whole thing into the car, bolt it down using the existing bolts, and we're done. Final step, carefully manoeuvre the seat and the base all together into the car. Bolt it into the existing mounting points using the original bolts. Yes. So that's it, got the seat fitted. If you're after a solution to fit a bucket seat into your car, have a look on swmotorsports.co.uk. If you don't see what you need, then drop us a message, we'll be sure to help you.